August was a winter month, but definitely thought it was a spring month. There was blossom, both almond and plum, daisies coming out, bulbs sprouting up, irises opening, and a lot of bees and other wildlife returning to the garden. I'm hoping that some difference will be apparent in the quality of this month's video, as nearly all the footage that you'll see in this was recorded on my new Canon 70D instead of my phone camera, which should create a significant difference in the amount of focus and detail and clarity of colours and so on that you can see. And I think that although I am on a pretty steep learning curve with it, I have been able to film quite nicely some of the things in the garden, and certainly more nicely than I could with the phone, so that's been nice. On the upside, the parrots have returned in force, and since I've refilled the bird feeder, we've had a lot of pretty visitors drinking and eating in the garden, along with lots of new bees returning to collect the pollen from all the new flowers that are opening, and some butterflies as well. I'm particularly glad that I've been able to take some relatively distant shots of the blossom that's come out on the plum trees with the new camera, because you really can't get the sense of the expanse of the flowers when taking things on a distance. On the phone, really only the close-ups look exciting, so it's nice to be able to show this. And this really is incredibly widespread in this garden. There are a lot of plum trees here. All throughout my childhood I would climb up and pick plums and throw the stones about, and they'd often sprout up into new saplings. So the property is really quite covered in different varieties of plum, which are all coming into blossom now. In September, I'll look forward to other kinds of blossom coming out, such as the apple and the pear trees coming into flower. At the moment, we've got the plum and the almond, but we've also got the very first blooms on the apricot tree, which have a nice pinky tinge and will look a nice contrast when the apple blossom comes out next to it. But most of these deciduous fruit trees are in bud at the moment, so we're clearly just about to get blossom from all of them, and there should be some pretty nice footage in September. On the downside, my least favourite insect has been prominent in wandering about in August, and that is an enchant. There have been quite a few on the walkabout around the yard and climbing some of the trees and so on. They do like the clayey soil that we have here, but although I was brave enough to video one, I did this on my phone, and I decided that wasn't clear enough that the enchant was even there, owing to the distance I stood away from it. Particularly prominent was the amount of insects and caterpillars that were around. We have one eucalypt down the bottom of the garden which is looking very eaten, owing to the fact that there are 2, maybe 3 different types of caterpillar on it. I was able to capture a little bit of footage of what I call a stick caterpillar, which in the video doesn't really appear to be a caterpillar at all, because it wasn't inclined to move for me, but I could tell that it was a caterpillar and not just a stem by the fact that it was not joining to an appropriate spot of the leaf, but to kind of the centre of another leaf, and you could kind of see its little feet. I'm hoping that September will bring more weather just like this, but also a bit of rain, because we do need some water to top everything up. But it is certainly really lovely to be out in, and looking forward to seeing what new flowers come out and what new plants appear. There are a lot of bulbs around that we don't necessarily know about until they pop their heads up. As Grandma did have that wild kind of strategy of planting, there are things all over the place that we don't necessarily know are there, so they give us nice surprises.